So I started off as a chemical engineer in the oil and gas industry. I did my undergrad at Rice and then my master's in engineering and technology management at Colorado School of Mines. Started working full time in 2019. And then COVID happened, kind of derailed everything for a lot of people and had everyone thinking about what they actually wanted to do with their lives, right? So that's when I discovered, I was bored during COVID, so I got my real estate license because I was actually in a lot of credit card debt and really wanted to pay it off as soon as possible, and just like didn't. I had started working thinking, oh, this is great, I'll be able to pay off my credit card debt in no time, and turns out you actually have to focus and pay attention to paying it off, and I was like, this is quite working for me.
Your strategy, actually, right?
I know, right? So that's when I was like, okay, I need some sort of a side hustle that can give me a good amount of extra income to pay off my credit card debts. And then just also, I was making six figures, but it wasn't as much as I thought it was going to be. But yeah, so that's when I kind of fell into real estate. I just like knew that a lot of people made money in real estate. So I was like, let me just try it as a side hustle on top of my full-time job, see what I can do. And that's when I discovered Bigger Pockets, started listening to the podcasts and understanding what real estate investing actually looked like. And I was like, I want to do that. So I had a big goal of paying off all of my credit card debt within a year and buying a duplex and getting started with real estate investing that way. And that's exactly what I did. I paid off my credit card debt in like 8 months instead of a year, which was really great. Bought my first duplex and just kind of haven't looked back since. I recently quit my full-time job in November, and I've been full in on content creation and real estate investing ever since. So
Wow, that's super exciting. So a lot to dissect here. So maybe just a little bit more on the content side, because that's a new space for me. And we've actually, I've been investing for many years, in technology, in real estate as a venture capital, but content creation has always been kind of on the back burner, at least for myself. And then my team has been very, adamant from a perspective of we really need to get into this. We really need to start building that personal brand out there. So starting this year, we've officially launched and been sharing a lot of different strategies from investment standpoint, kind of the deal analysis that we go through. So that's been super exciting, but it's still a very new space for me. And I know a lot of folks in my circles who are very successful investors themselves, but from a branding and social media aspect is a big black hole.
Yeah.
So share some of the insights that are working for you, for your personal brand. Why do you do this, and what are some of the tools or maybe techniques that actually help you succeed in that space?
Yeah, for sure. And so I guess I've been kind of content creating for at least like a few years now. I didn't really get serious about it until about last year, I would say, was when I really decided I was going to get serious on it. Because before it was very much just a side fun hobby for me. So I would make, a good amount of extra income from it, but I was never that serious about it. I just knew that it was something fun for me. And it was, especially since I didn't really get the creativity out of my engineering job, it was like another realm for me to just jump into and delve into. In terms of what's working, right now we're actually, depending on what platform you're using, if you're using YouTube, if you're using Instagram, if you're using TikTok, I'm a big Instagram person, and then building my YouTube channel right now. With Instagram, for the last 2 years, basically since TikTok was around, you saw a big push towards video and reels, but now you're actually seeing Instagram pull back from that, and they're really prioritizing carousel posts and still images and stuff like that. So, which I actually really like, because personally, I got on Instagram years ago from my travel photography. I travel a lot. I've been to over 50 countries. So that's how I started off. And it was kind of hard to get me to start doing videos because it takes a lot more planning, I feel, with videos than it does with still images. But now it's great because it forced everyone to kind of create this whole new skill set of creating videos, which I feel like also does have a lot bigger of an impact a lot of the time than still images do. But now you're seeing a lot of Instagram gurus and everything using a mixture of both, because it's not like reels are completely dead. They still have a good amount of reach, but you are having to meld both. That's why you see a lot of people doing a lot of informational carousel posts, especially in the education realm.
Very interesting. Very interesting observation. And I'm not too deep into that, but I can definitely relate to what you're talking about when it comes to actual video production. I have the team that handles all of that on the back scenes, but for me to sit in front of the camera, and all of that takes a while. And it's a skill that's, I think, ongoing. It gets better and better. But at the beginning, I've been having my podcast for many, many years.
Yeah.
But it's all audio. There's not that much of a visual aspect to it, but we just recently started doing the videos as well. And I can definitely relate to what you're talking about, the amount of prep work that goes into just being on the video, and just even if it's like 30 to 50-second segment,
yes,
to say something, and you should see me in my office, and I just I curse a lot, and there's like 20 different takes to do one video, and I'm like anyways.
Completely. And something that helps me is I try to batch a lot of my, especially with short form videos, I'll try to film 10 videos at once. So I've like written down all of my script, and I'll take time. I'll spend, let's say, 15 minutes writing down scripts for 10 different videos. I'll film all of them at once. That way, so a lot of my content, like for example, the last 2 weeks, I've been renovating a house up in Shenandoah National Park, and me and my business partner, we do a lot of the work ourselves. So we've just been busy. Like I haven't had time to create new content, so the good thing, but I was still posting because I'd already batched a lot of my content. So I just have to go in there and click post at that point. And then I also have I use Metricool where I can schedule out a lot of my posts as well. So it just has it automatically post for me.
So what type of content do you find that resonates the best, at least with your audience these days? I know when it comes to social media and all of that stuff, but what are you focusing on these days? What are some of the things that really help you get the right amount of viewership or engagement from your audience? Maybe share some insights from that standpoint.
Completely. Yeah, I would say right now it's a lot of storytelling and also funny content. So I think there's a lot of like educational content, which is also super great. Some of those do really well, some of those don't. It just kind of depends, just because I think especially within real estate, it can be super niche, almost too niche sometimes, where with some people it doesn't quite resonate, or it just kind of goes above their head, right? Like if it's something that's too niche. But I think it's finding that way to bring the like personable aspect of it. People follow, a lot of the time people follow me for me, not just like my real estate, which that's kind of the kind of following I'm trying to create. I'm not trying to be known as just the real estate girl who teaches you about real estate. I like want people to follow my journey and like come along on this journey to help other people kind of create their own personal journeys as well. So a lot of the time it's storytelling on things that have happened, crazy things that have happened, or fun things that have happened, or things that are like happening real time in our business that people might find interesting. So those are kind of the things that do well with my niche. But with a lot of people, it may be strictly like educational stuff because they branded themselves as that. So it just kind of depends on like who you want to present yourself as in social media.
That makes a lot of sense. And you've mentioned that the choice of platform also matters when it comes to that. TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube. How do you prioritize that? And does your strategy of content creation change based on the channel that you're prioritizing?
Yes.
And maybe tell us a little bit more about that.
Completely. Yeah, it definitely changes because each platform has like its demographic, right? So TikTok, you're going to find a lot of newer, younger, very bite-sized. So a lot of the educational content, I don't even post it to TikTok. Like people don't want to see that. They're not, especially if you go on Instagram, you'll see a lot of the like talking bobblehead videos with the text, the edited text and all of that. That doesn't really perform super well on TikTok. TikTok, they really want to see like your authentic self. So a lot of the time on TikTok, I'll post like, it's funny, a lot of the stuff I post on my stories on Instagram, I'll repurpose those for TikTok because it's more of that like in the moment stuff that's happening, really not edited at all. It's just me chatting with my best friend type of situation. That's what you want to see on TikTok. On Instagram, you do have more of like a curated feel because Instagram was created originally as a visual imaging platform. So they're very like image and like aesthetic focused. So a lot of my stuff on Instagram tends to be more curated and pretty and like visually appealing and less just like I'm filming it in my car, kind of thing. And then I really love YouTube. I just started YouTube. My strategy for YouTube is very different because you have those longer form videos. I'm not doing minute, 30-second long videos. I'm doing 10 minutes, 15 minutes, sometimes 20-minute long videos. And with YouTube, I have different like buckets that I essentially post. It can be something from something educational. It can be, I do a lot of house tours or vacation rental tours because people want to see like what it's actually like in there and how much people are paying. And it kind of goes a lot more in depth. And the reason I went the YouTube route is YouTube just has so many, it's one of those platforms where you can create content for YouTube and easily repurpose it for all of your different platforms. Their monetization is also a lot better than a lot of other platforms. And the reach, like the following on YouTube is a lot stronger than on TikTok, for example. I feel like Instagram and YouTube, it's easier to create a more loyal following, where on TikTok, it's just really quick and fast and people get bored easily and move on to the next one.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense, especially from repurposing content standpoint, because I see a lot of educational content out there that talks a lot about strategies like that, where you create a long form content, let's say on the YouTube, and then you repurpose that, essentially chop that up, the long video, make shorter versions of that, and you post that on Instagram, TikTok, and all of the other shorter form platforms.
Yeah, and it's not even just that, but it's also creating, so a lot of carousel posts will come directly from YouTube videos. So like if I post an educational video on YouTube, I've already written my script for it. So I take like my top 4 points from that and I'll create a carousel post where it's just digital images of like written text in it. And it's just really easy to repurpose content that way.
Okay. And then as far as certain milestones or thresholds when it comes to whether it's an X number of viewership or X number of followers, or maybe a combination of that, what are your targets? And maybe talk a little bit further about, when it comes to these targets, at what point can you actually start seeing certain results come out of that content creation, whether that's new partnership opportunities, new investment opportunities, or maybe, you getting exposure to come and be a speaker, let's say at a conference about that particular topic. Just curious to get your perspective on what you've been seeing in that space when it comes to specific metrics.
Yeah, for sure. And in terms of metrics, I focus a lot less on the results necessarily, but more so the actions that I'm taking. So when I'm thinking of metrics, I'm thinking of how many times I want to be posting a week, how many times I want to be posting a month. So I have like a target number, like I post every single day. I post a reel or an Instagram post every single day. On YouTube, I post once a week, etc. Because you don't necessarily have as much control over what that's going to turn into, right? Because you can have a video go viral, or you can have something that just hits right for whatever reason. And I'm always looking to see like why something's going viral and stuff like that. But some of it really is kind of in the abyss. Even if you look at some of the big content creators, they'll have videos that only have like 100 views or 200 views. And you're like, well, they have 30,000 followers. Like, and it's funny because I'll like, you look at some other bigger name content creators who have a lot more views than I do, but I may have a lot more engagement than they do. So my big thing is really just having consistent growth within my platform. So I want to be seeing, like, for example, in my Instagram, that I'm growing by 30 followers a week. Like, and that's not huge, right? But like, it's that consistent growth. And when you focus and when you say can stay consistent, you do see that growth. And that's what I really especially when I decided that I wanted to focus. I really have been seeing that consistent growth week over week, month over month. And that's because I'm not trying to just blow up and have a bunch of followers. For me, it's like I'm creating a community. And that community is going to follow me till the end of time, type of situation. So that's really what I'm focusing. And so, and I know you mentioned in terms of like either speaking engagements or, so what people don't realize is you don't need a ton of followers to be on a podcast or to I've gotten what is it, investors through my Instagram. I don't have 10, 20, 30,000 followers. I'm consistent with my content. I make sure to engage with my community. Because I'm consistent and I show my journey, there's just so much opportunity out there because people are going to invest with people. And, if you read all the books and everything, people invest with who they know, like, and trust, right? And Instagram and YouTube and social media is such an easy way to create that connection. It's funny. I had an investor call the other day, and the person was like, yeah, I don't know, you post a lot, which at first I thought was super weird, but like, I wouldn't be on this call if you didn't post so much. And so I'm like, yeah, it's
Yes.
so, and I think people kind of get a little bogged down by worrying about what people think, but there's just so much more upside, especially when you just be genuine, be authentic, be yourself, and people will see that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And especially when it comes to just consistency standpoint, I've definitely been noticing that, the consistency definitely pays off when it comes to that engagement, because like you said, it's a long-term play. It's not just trying to, strike gold with some type of a one video that goes viral and then you just blow up from there. But at the end of the day, there's that very famous strategy in marketing that talks about 1,000 true fanatics, where you actually build a little bit of a community of 1,000 true fans. And that's really enough of a base to grow from there, whether that's new investment opportunities or, just whatever case is. So that makes a lot of sense what you're talking about. So to shift the focus a little bit more on the investment side, maybe talk a little bit further. What are you currently investing in? What are you very excited about? And maybe on the other side of the spectrum, what are you staying away from? What are some of the things that you're very cautious and skeptical about in this point of juncture in the market that we're dealing with?
Yeah, completely. Right now I'm fully focused on short-term rentals. I think a lot of people are focused on short-term rentals. For me, the big reason for that is, as I said, I travel a lot. So the whole vacation rental hosting type of situation is kind of like in my blood, in my DNA. And it's something that I enjoy because I can get really creative about it, and differentiate myself in comparison to the rest of the competition, which I think is a little bit harder to do sometimes in some of the different asset classes. In terms of things, and so my big thing, but for the end of the year though, is I do want to get a boutique hotel under contract. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a boutique hotel, but something with, it's basically, the merging of large multifamily with short-term rentals. So tiny home village, boutique hotel type of situation. That's like my 2023 goal. In terms of things that I'm staying away from, it's hard to state what I'm staying away from just because I'm still so focused on what I'm focused on. I don't like everything else. I don't even think about, look into right now, because it is one of those things where I'm still pretty early in my career where it's like, you just need to focus and not get distracted by everything else. Cause you can be successful in anything, in my belief. I think right now, maybe people that could be struggling are newer flippers, right? Like, especially if you don't understand ARV super well, or if you're trying to burn, you don't understand how interest rates are changing and how that's going to affect you on the back end side of things. So that's something I personally don't. I'm a long-term hold investor type of person. I don't really look into flipping or anything short-term. I'm very much focused on, does the deal work now? And like, yes, I look at how it's going to work in the future, but I'm really focused on if it makes sense right now, it generally will make sense later down the line as well.
So we have a few short-term rental assets in our portfolio, and it's very diversified portfolio, just like yourself. We try to mitigate risk from different angles. But maybe say a little bit more about your investment thesis when it comes to short-term rentals. Where do you see this going? What are the different trends you're currently observing, and why do you think that's the space that you personally very interested in investing?
Yeah, completely. I think, right now you're getting a lot of, over the last few months, a lot of talk about the Airbnb bust, right? So the thing about that is there's a lot of people that entered into the short-term rental space who had no business being there. They didn't actually like hosting. They didn't really care about creating a product that people would want post this COVID surge, right? And the thing about vacation rentals is they've been there for years. It's nothing new, right? Airbnb has just made it more accessible for people to enter into the market. But vacation rentals have been here way before I was born, you know? And I think the big thing right now is really learning how to differentiate yourself, because you are seeing a lot of the same type of thing out there. People are wanting experiences. They're wanting to get out of their home. They're wanting to have something. They want a unique experience that's going to a reason for them to go on vacation, right? Like people don't want to go on vacation, just stay at a regular old house like they're staying at home, you know, like they want to stay somewhere that's different and unique and has some sort of experiences. So something we always focus on are things with a view, things and like, so a big thing that we focus on is the way we design our properties. We're just not like most people out there. We're very, if you know me and you see my channel, I'm very colorful and very bright. And that's what we infuse in our design. And a lot of what we do too is bring so I travel a lot. It's like what we bring from a lot of our travels, I try to infuse into the experience and the design. So I think it's really finding those unique experiences. And that's also why things like tiny homes or A-frames, glamping, those type of situations are doing really, really well right now as well, because they're a unique experience, right? They're not something that you can just get in your backyard or in a city. People are wanting to get away from the city, especially now. You've got people either going into the office or staying at home all the freaking time. So they're wanting to get out of that space and do something different and do something new. It was interesting. I was actually talking to someone at a conference, and she was saying like, yeah, I don't even think about going abroad these days because there's so many cool different unique Airbnbs, short-term rentals in the US now that you can go to, and it's pretty cool. Like it's a whole different new experience that you can go and experience. So I thought that was also, you know, it's very telling, right? Like you don't have to go to Hawaii, although we all love going to Hawaii, of course, but you don't have to go abroad now to find these really unique experiences. And I focus on places that are drivable to large metropolitan cities. So right now we're focused in Shenandoah National Park. It's right outside of Washington, D.C. It's had a really strong visitor base for the last 50, 60, 70, 80 years. They've had over 1 million visitors going into that area every year for the last 40 years type of situation. So those are the kind, but the thing that I love about places like those as well is you don't have a lot of the larger short-term rental players in that market yet. So it's really easy for the little guys to come in and kind of make a splash.
It resonates on so many levels, because I always talk about that specific aspect when it comes to experience to my team all the time, that we are in the business of selling an experience. At the end of the day, it's not accommodations. It's not, the facilities or the amenities. We're in business of, selling experiences. So that makes a lot of sense where you're talking about, with an ability to stand out from all of the competition. If you design that specific experience you want your guests to have. And also the other aspect I wanted to add that I've been seeing a lot from growth standpoint is designing that specific place with a particular profile in mind. What I mean is we have for example, one single family home that we've said this particular house would be perfect for families with small children, because I have small children, and we said, if we were to go to a place like this, what would we look for? So we designed a place only with that in mind. And that's actually one of the best performing assets in our entire portfolio, because it has a very distinct use case and targeted. So that, I see a lot of opportunity there as well. As far as you mentioned the national parks and the DC area where you invest, what other areas, what maybe other geographic locations that are you excited about for those actually that are just starting out in this space? What would you recommend? What are the different locations that you see a lot of growth potential?
Yeah, so there's a new area. We do design for clients as well. And we were just there last week in West Virginia. There's the New River Gorge National Park. That's a really great up and coming area because it's a new national park that was just established. The competition sucks. So there's a lot of opportunity there, and that's definitely an area we're also going to start looking into. Right now, we honestly, like, for example, for this year, we're so focused on the Shenandoah National Park area. We're really building our team there, just acquiring prop because we want everything to be kind of like in our own in-house team. So each location that we go to, we want a portfolio that we have a team that is dedicated towards that, and then move on to our next location. But we're really trying really hard not to spread ourselves too thin and be like, oh, let's go here, let's go there, and you know.
So national parks is one of the areas that seems like you're prioritizing, that you see a lot of growth potential.
Yeah, and so and it's not even just national parks, but a lot of state parks. So in each state that you go to, there are going to be a specific state parks that everyone has been going to forever, right? Like it could be in Texas, it could be in Virginia, it could be anywhere in the country, right? There are going to be a lot of state parks that are the community, like the city's go-to place for 4th of July weekend or for the summer or whatever it may be. So I think that there's a lot of growth potential there too. I was just in Ohio and Hocking. Well, my friends, they actually have a rental in Hocking Hills, and that kind of blew up as well. And that's another state park that is just like, no one outside of Ohio probably knows that much about it, but within that community, everyone knows. So I think that's a really good potential there. And then I also look at midterm rentals too, just because I have like my own personal portfolio that I'm building as well. So sometimes I do like dabble in looking into medium-term rental locations as well.
So maybe share a little bit more from that midterm rental perspective. What type of renters are you seeing, and what different strategies you're implementing to attract that type of guest, that type of a renter to look into some of the properties that you have in that particular asset class?
Yeah, for sure. So I only have right now, I have my duplex in New Orleans. So I medium term rent out. I house hacked it. So I medium term rent out my side whenever I'm traveling. And then over the summer, it's a low season in New Orleans. So I medium term rent out the other side as well. And in terms of demographic, we're in New Orleans, lots of hospitals around. So traveling nurses are a big one, or traveling, not even just nurses, but traveling medical professionals. But then I also get a lot of university professors and just digital nomads in general who want to spend a few months in New Orleans. I actually recently just got someone who they're renovating their house in Vermont, I believe, but they love New Orleans. And so they decided to come down for a few months. In terms of how I'm getting people, so it's either through Airbnb, it's also previous renters that I've had stay at my short-term rental who will reach out to see if they can rent it out for a longer period of time. And then also Furnish Finder as well, and mainly for like the traveling professionals. So either medical professionals or digital nomads, they'll go on Furnish Finders and they'll list their properties there. But right now, for example, I'm looking at a place in Colorado and Denver, just because I love Denver and I'm a nomad. So I plan on basically living a few months in Colorado, a few months in New Orleans, a few months in Europe, that kind of situation. But so right now I'm looking at duplexes that I can like kind of makeshift into fourplexes in that area, and using the medium-term rental strategy in that area. So a big thing there is also not, if you're targeting medical professionals or professors, it's not, you don't want to be too far away from either the university or from the hospital, whatever it may be, depending on what demographic you're targeting.
Very interesting. And you've mentioned Furnish Finder. They've been, all over the podcasts and all the social media, but I've been, I haven't seen much, success or I guess results from that particular platform. We've experimented.
Interesting. In what way? Like, how is it just you haven't found people reaching out, or in what way?
Yeah, we've done some research, and it's one of the platforms that does come up from from advertising perspective, that it's targeted at traveling professionals and in the healthcare medical space. And we've listed the property there for several months, and honestly, and we've played around, experimented with the pricing as well and all the different other avenues, but have not had any decent type of inquiries or that actually led to
Yeah, so the thing with Furnish Finders is you have to reach out to them.
Right.
So I go through and blast everyone, and not just through the app,
Right.
email, phone, call, or email, text, everything, and I'll just follow up with them. So, because a lot of the time they'll just like sign up, but then forget that they signed up and don't really know what it is and don't know how to use it. So it requires a lot more work than like Airbnb does. But yeah, you have to be the one to follow up with them and reach out to them, is what I've seen it to be the best method.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we discovered, that it's actually, just a database of potential
Yes.
prospects. So that was a nice, little discovery. When it financing some of your deals, and talk a little bit further about what type of structures are you currently using? Where do how do you work with investors? What are the different, channels that you explore when it comes to just financing your deals? Because of with the interest rates and everything that we're seeing fluctuating, up or down like crazy. What are you currently working on when it comes to financing your investment opportunities?
For sure. Yeah. So I guess I've got kind of like two separate sets of, so I've got like what I call my personal portfolio, which is like my duplex and other duplex that I'm buying, etc. So for those, I use like low down payment loan type of situation. So either FHA 203K. And then I'll also subsidize that because I'm a realtor. I get commission back. So I'll roll that into my closing costs. And then I also use other creative methods like a 401k loan or whatever to pay for any extra things here and there. And then I've got my like short-term rental business side of things. With that, we just partner with other investors. So they bring all the capital, they are the ones getting the loan. Although now we're actually going to probably transition more to DSCR loans. We're going to see how it works because we've heard some good things and bad things about DSCR. So we're going to see how it works. But previously we were mainly doing either 10% vacation home loans or 15% investor loans, where the investor would get the loan. And we were generally trying to find properties that had at least a 30% cash on cash return, because then we split equity and we split profits with our investors. And those percentages kind of change, but usually it's a 50-50 split for equity as well as for profits.
Mhm. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and you're right about DSCR loans. It's a case by case situation, and it's very hard to tell whether that particular financing structure makes sense for an asset class. And we've had different experiences from that standpoint, so I can definitely relate. When as far as putting all of that together and looking into what's coming up next through the next 18 to 24 months, what are you personally preparing for? What are you researching? What's kind of just looking into Olivia's personal crystal ball? What are some of the things that you essentially preparing yourself and your team for?
For sure. Well, number one, I'm really hoping at some point interest rates come down. That would be great. Because then I can refinance some of these properties. The nice thing is like I was saying before, we run all of our numbers so that they work right now, right? So our numbers work right now at these high interest rates. Awesome. But they're going to work even better when interest rates come down. So that would be great. I think the big thing for us really is just kind of keeping an eye on those interest rates. I don't necessarily expect them to go up, but if they do, just getting more creative in terms, like we are looking to do a few more creative strategies like seller financing. And just because, especially with these high interest rates, you can just get better deals. And a lot of people are struggling to sell their properties at these high interest rates because it just doesn't make sense for people. So that is something that, especially for this next property that we get, we are looking to do some sort of creative financing strategy for it. I've looked into sub 2. I'm not as confident about sub 2 just yet. And I'd want probably a bit more of a mentor to kind of guide me through that, but definitely something I've looked into.
You need a full-time team for that, just for the record.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless that's your full-time job, do that all day and day.
Right. And that's why I'm like, we're not there yet.
Yeah, no, it could definitely work. It just requires a lot of investment from a standpoint, just actually build some type of a deal flow, because it's not for everybody, and the amount of outreach that you have to do to really find that particular seller profile who is able to say, yes, my loan is assumable and you can actually take that over, or whatever the case.
Completely. And it's also just because a lot of people don't even know what that is, right? So it's you have to act as the educator for the seller so that they understand what they're even getting themselves into, you know?
That'd be good. Makes a lot of sense. Last but not least, maybe share your personal learning, your personal, content diet that you subscribe to. How do you keep yourself informed? How do you keep yourself educated on all of the things in your industry, in your market? Maybe share some of the sources that you consume on a daily basis.
Yeah, for sure. So I am a big podcaster. So a lot of the classics, right? We've got Bigger Pockets. We've got, I do a lot of short-term rental podcast listening as well. So the Short-Term Shop or the Short-Term Show. I'm a big personal development podcast listener too. So I listen to Jay Shetty and Lewis Howe, so School of Greatness. I really have been enjoying Stephen Bartlett's podcast as well, Diary of a CEO. I'm just a big podcaster, especially since I'm driving so much. I'm always listening to podcasts in general. And then honestly, I do get a lot of so a lot of my digestion also comes from social media, like Instagram and YouTube, not necessarily to learn about like a specific topic, but more so to understand what other people within the industry and in other industries are doing so that I can get ideas for content that I want to create. So a lot of I try to put a lot of my social media consumption. I'm trying to be less of a consumer just for the sake of consuming and more consuming to help grow my business.
Olivia, can't thank you enough for your time today. It was very insightful, very short and insightful conversation. I personally learned quite a bit, and what I love doing with all the guests on the podcast is do a follow-up recording in about a year where we everything we discussed, if everything still makes sense, still applies. So I definitely look forward to doing that with you as well.
Amazing. I know. I'm curious to see where I'm at in a year or two.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.